Is it a disaster if Khamzat Chimev becomes the champion of the world? Khamzat Chimev hasn't been the most reliable guy. The reality is, when you look at his record here on Tapology, he has pulled out of 6 fights. All right, so yeah, he's had 6 cancelled bouts. But when you look at Khamzat Chimev, yeah, he's brilliant to watch and he's very interesting. He's a compelling character, but he doesn't fight too frequently either. In 2024, he only had 1 fight against Whittaker. 23, only 1 fight against Usman. He did have 2 fights in 2022 and 2 fights in 2021. If you're going to be the champion, you got to defend. Because we do want to have a busy champion, okay? You got to fight. You can't sit on the sidelines. You can't become the champion and say, right, I'm going to avoid fighting people now. No, you got to defend it. Because when you defend it, that's when you make money. That's how you build your brand. That's how you get the endorsement deals, okay?
Khamzat Chimaev has become a headline in MMA news worldwide this week, after a prominent figure in the sport declared that if the Chechen were to win the UFC middleweight title, it would be a disaster for the division. The criticism stems from Chimev's inconsistent fight schedule, his history of pulling out of fights, and his infamous weight-cutting issues. Let's break down exactly what's being said about Khamzat Chimaev, with many voices in the MMA world now questioning whether he's even as good as people make him out to be. First, pay close attention to the bold and controversial warning from former fighter Din Thomas, who didn't hide his concerns about what could happen if Chimev emerges victorious. Thomas was blunt in voicing his doubts about Chimev's ability to maintain a consistent reign as UFC champion, stating, "I'ma keep it 100 with you. If Khamzat wins, it's a disaster, actually. You can't tell me that a part of you is thinking, this fight actually might not happen. Some of these guys are just habitual in terms of not making it to the dance. I'm not going to be pessimistic about it and will say he's going to show up. But if he does show up and he does win, do we trust him to fight again? That's the question. Can he do it twice? Can he do it 3 times? Because we need movement. I hate when things get stagnant and there's no movement in these divisions. For there to be movement, the champions need to fight. If you're the champion and you're not willing to fight frequently, it's bad for the division. It's bad for the sport." Din Thomas's criticism is heavy. In his view, a belt in Chimaev's hands could paralyze the middleweight division. Throughout his career, Chimev has faced questions about consistency and activity inside the octagon. Thomas reminded everyone that the health of a division depends on active champions who maintain a steady pace of title defenses and keep fans engaged with ongoing narratives. For Thomas, if Khamzat can't fight 2 or 3 times consecutively at a high level, the consequences could be devastating for the division and the sport as a whole. Michael Bisping also weighed in on the Chimev situation, and in his opinion, he completely understands the concern about whether Khamzat can sustain a reign with so few fights. Additionally, Bisping expressed hope that if Chimev does win the title, we'll see a different, more active version of him, someone who will step up and prove to everyone that he's a legitimate and dominant UFC champion.
Is it a disaster if Khamzat Chimev becomes the champion of the world? Because that's the opinion of one legendary fighter, Din Thomas. Din Thomas was talking on a show or doing an interview, and he said it would be a disaster if Khamzat Chimev won because he's not reliable, okay? And the division might get held up. The exact quote was, by the way, if it doesn't happen, the backup fighter is Caio Borralho. If Khamzat can't make it to the fight, if he fails on the scale, if he gets sick, if he gets food poisoning or Dricus du Plessis just doesn't fancy it, Caio Borralho will be stepping in. The champions have to fight. Now, that is a fair point by Din Thomas. Now, Khamzat Chimev hasn't been the most reliable guy. The reality is, when you look at his record here on Tapology, he has pulled out of 6 fights. All right, so yeah, he's had 6 cancelled bouts. But when you look at Khamzat Chimev, yeah, he's brilliant to watch and he's very interesting. He's a compelling character, but he doesn't fight too frequently either. In 2024, he only had 1 fight against Whittaker. 23, only 1 fight against Usman. He did have 2 fights in 2022 and 2 fights in 2021. If you're going to be the champion, you got to defend. And Khamzat Chimev has got a very good chance of becoming the champion. And of course, there were some struggles with visas and stuff like that, but that seems to have all been taken care of. You know, Dana White knows a few people in powerful places. And of course, the fight's going down in Chicago, so getting to the US isn't an issue. So don't worry about that. Seems like he's working hard on the cardio because we know, you know what I'm going to say, he has to. Against Gilbert Burns and against Kamaru Usman in the first round, he slowed down. Now, Dricus is a big dude. He's not going to be easy to take down. Dricus du Plessis isn't scared of anyone. You probably saw that picture of me and him in Sydney back in the day. He was way bigger than me, okay? I put it on my Instagram. I said, I'm 220 pounds, and Dricus du Plessis was making me look tiny. He's a massive middleweight. He's got excellent jiu-jitsu skills. He tapped out an entire black belt Gracie team, one after the other. He's got knockout power, and he's got the cardio as well these days. And he can't wait to go head-to-head with Khamzat Chimaev. So, would it be a disaster if Khamzat Chimaev wins? That's what Dean Thomas said. I kind of get his point, because we do want to have a busy champion, okay? You got to fight. You can't sit on the sidelines. You can't become the champion and say, right, I'm going to avoid fighting people now. No, you got to defend it, because when you defend it, that's when you make money. That's how you build your brand. That's how you get the endorsement deals, okay? And I think if he can beat Dricus, and that's a big if, it's a very big if, okay? I don't know if he can. I'd probably lean towards Dricus du Plessis, but if he does do it, it remains to be seen whether or not that will be a disaster. I think he will fight more frequently because he'll be the champion of the world. He'll want to get back in there. He'll want to show everybody. And to be honest, if he beats Dricus du Plessis, who's going to beat him?
While Bisping mentioned money as a potential motivator, Chimev has publicly stated numerous times that money is no longer an issue for him, claiming he's already financially set, so money might not be as significant a factor as Bisping suggests. Furthermore, Brazilian middleweight Kio Borralho has gone as far as to openly claim that Khamzat will even retire if he captures the UFC title. No one knows for sure if Borralho's source is credible, but these rumors, combined with Chimav's absurdly low fight frequency, are a real letdown for UFC fans. The anticipation surrounding UFC 319, where Khamzat Chimaev will face Dricus du Plessis, keeps building. But alongside the excitement, serious questions arise about Chimaev's true capabilities as a potential champion. In a recent statement that has already sparked massive discussion, another former UFC fighter put Chimaev's entire hype into question. Josh Thompson suggested that the bout against du Plessis could be the ultimate reality check, the moment when we find out if Chimaev is as good as advertised or if he's just an illusion. Thompson didn't mince words. Is he that bad? Or is he good? We're gonna find out when he fights DDP. I've been saying this for a long time. The sample size we have on Chimev isn't big enough for me. It's just not. Are we giving him too much credit? Everyone's like, oh, he's Muslim, has the beard, knows how to wrestle. Are we giving him Khabib credit? Nobody is like Khabib. Nobody is like Islam. We associate the two things, but they're not the same. Khabib didn't get tired. Is Chimev as good as we think? Or are we going to get a reality check against DDP? He's fantastic when he's fresh, but we've seen him fall apart in the second and third rounds. He got dropped by Gilbert Burns, and look at how Gilbert has done since that fight. He hasn't been able to win. So, is he as bad or as good as people say? I don't think he's as good as people want him to be. He's fantastic when he's beating you up. I'm not denying that, but how does he react when suddenly, boom, he gets hit? Is Chimev that guy? Does he fall apart? Does he break? I'm leaning towards yes. That statement was a true bombshell. Thompson touched on critical points that many fans and experts have been hesitant to discuss. Is Chimev really the phenom he's marketed to be, or is he just an untested product of hype? The example he used couldn't be more symbolic. His fight against Gilbert Burns, though Chimev won that bout, he struggled and was even knocked down. Since then, Burns has been unable to notch any significant victories, further raising doubts about Chimev's true level. The provocation goes beyond technical aspects. By using the phrase fraud check, Thompson implied that the fight against Dricus du Plessis could be the moment when Chimev's carefully constructed image is finally put through a real, undeniable test. This kind of narrative directly plays into the imagination of the fans. After all, what everyone wants isn't just a fight, it's a revelation. Is Khamzat Chimaev truly the monster people believe he is? Or will we witness the collapse of a hype train in real time against du Plessis? As for Chimaev's sporadic fight schedule, what do you think? If he becomes champion, do you believe he'll keep fighting once a year, if that like he's been doing lately? Drop your thoughts in the comments so we can discuss it. The stakes are sky high. If he wins and delivers an emphatic performance, Chimev can finally silence the critics and prove that he's worthy of carrying the weight of a championship belt. But if he fails, whether it's due to cardio issues or Dricus du Plessis' relentless pressure, there will be no more excuses. The fraud label might stick for good, and with it, Chimev's status could plummet in a way few fighters ever recover from.